Welcome to Dead Harvey Podcast. This is the place for independent horror filmmakers and fans. Today we have a very special guest. Jefferson Apgar has come back to talk to us about the classic movie Beastmaster. We're going to revisit indie filmmaker Don Coscarelli's classic film Beastmaster from 1982 and talk about how it influenced other movies, the influence that it had on us, and kind of go into some behind the scenes kind of stuff. Welcome, Jefferson. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Brad. How are you?
Good. Awesome to have you back. And we had both talked earlier about Beastmaster and about how much we love this movie. I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, so it was a real treat to go and revisit this one.
Yeah, it was for me as well. Like it kind of brought me back to just the tales of yore, like Hercules, Xena, it kind of brought me back to that tale, and it was before the birth of CGI.
Yeah,
and everything was practical, and that was one of the first things that captured my interest when I was watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, might as well too. Yeah, that's cool that you mentioned Xena and Hercules and all that, because that probably was specifically influenced by Beastmaster, or at least partly, because that kind of had like that. Yeah, it had like that sort of like fun setting to it, and then like all like the cool side characters and the fantasy element and the sword and sorcery on top of it too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And not just that, but it kind of had like, I mean, I'm gonna use this term, but I don't mean it in a demeaning way, but yeah. It was very much like a B movie.
Oh, for sure.
Like, or like a show you would just randomly see on TV one day. It kind of had that budget, but the story and the characters were so well written that like it kind of meshed very well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like how I viewed it. Yeah, and this was like a big budget version of Hercules and Xena, or yeah,
definitely. So Don Coscarelli, the movies he made before this was Jim the World's Greatest in 75, Phantasm 1 through 4 starting in 75 going to 98, Kenny and Company in 76, and then The Great Beastmaster in 1982. And then he went on to do The Deal, The Last in Line, Survival Quest, Bubba Hotep, which we talked about, Master of the Poor episode, which is also based off a Joe Lansdale book, and then or short story, and then John dies at the end. Now this is weird, because you'd think that the Beastmaster is a studio movie because it was distributed by MGM, but it was actually independently financed, and then it was sold to MGM. So they actually made it through money that they went out and sought after themselves, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Wow.
Starring Mark Singer, Tanya Roberts from A View to a Kill. That was another one of her very famous movies, and she was in Charlie's Angels partially as well too.
Yeah.
And this is the cool thing about this, is that this movie was, and of course Mark Singer from V, the reptile alien invasion show, which is awesome as well.
Right.
This was based off of a book by Andre Norton, but Andre Norton's real name is actually Alice Norton, because Alice, she changed her name. She legally changed her name because when she wrote this, I believe this came in, she wrote this in 1959, I believe. But the novel that it's based off of, she didn't want her name on the movie because it was so vastly different from the book. It basically took the original idea of speaking to animals and then like becoming a hero, and then like the sort of the whole the prophecy element of it, but everything else, her setting was more kind of like sci-fi fantasy, whereas this one was more like sword and sorcery.
Yeah, that's actually something that's one of my notes I took down. Was in the original book was it took place in like a far future, where mankind has, I mean, there's technology there, but they've kind of had to kind of like Tarzan with technology.
It kind of reminded me of like a John Carter of Mars kind of thing, from like her book sounded like, that sort of element, some kind of like cosmic stuff, and then like the sci-fi fantasy in there. But she actually wrote under a male pen name because at that time that fantasy was really popular with young boys. So like the young adult audience that was reading those books were mostly male. That's why she changed her name and had it changed. And now they've actually named an award after her. But she did. Well, it's funny that she didn't put her name on this one, but she put it on the 2 super low budget cheesy sequels afterwards. But they were but they did, even though they're super cheesy and low budget, they do kind of resemble more of that like sci-fi and fantasy element, and sci-fi fantasy as opposed to just straight up sword and sorcery. Yeah,
right.
So that may be why. Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. That was in the movie Casanova with Heath Ledger. Was about that.
Oh, no kidding.
It was about that. I mean, it wasn't about him. It was about an author who was a female, and female writers weren't respected.
Yeah.
So they would purposely make their name male, like when they would publish a book.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Like,
yeah, I thought that was cool.
Because that's an actual historical thing. Like that's a true fact. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that I had no idea. Like there was a lot of the stuff that was in the commentary that I picked up too, like especially like with the tiger in the movie. The tiger was supposed to be
I got no tiger.
Supposed to be a leopard or
wait. I got it.
Panther. Yeah. That's right. Panther.
It's supposed to be a panther, but I mean, it's clearly I got a little note here. Yeah, they literally dyed a tiger black.
Yeah,
like they use hair colored dye to make this tiger black.
Yeah,
and I mean they wouldn't allow that today, but
not at all.
You can clearly see it's a tiger. Yeah,
that's true. But I didn't know any different. Like when I was a kid watching, I was like, "What a cool panther!"
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But there is like when you watch the movie too, you bring that up. It's like there are different varying degrees of the tiger being dyed, like because it's like sometimes it's like a little bit of a lighter color. Other times you're like, oh well, they
it looks purple sometimes. Yeah.
And there are some kind of like the gray like parts of like his whiskers that are sort of hanging out there that's coming through the dye. But it was that's funny. It's funny to notice because it will definitely like stick out when you're aware of it. It's funny, like some things you're aware of and all of a sudden you notice them right away, but you never notice them before then until somebody points them out.
Exactly. Like if it isn't like kind of like explained to you, like I mean, especially when you're watching as a kid, you're like, yeah, that's a panther. Yeah.
And it was difficult for them to do scenes like they were talking like Coscarelli and Paul Pepperman. Paul Pepperman was the co-writer on it and producer, and they were talking about how difficult it was to film the scenes with the kid actors because the kid actors could never be around when like the tiger was in the scene or other animals like that were in the scene. They had to have like this plexiglass between the two of them. And so it made it more difficult. Of course, like with kid actors, you can only use them for a partial amount of time. Can't use them as much as adult actors.
Right.
And with animals on top of it, that adds in a whole other like chaotic element. And there was a cool story too about the Russian bear. There was the bear that they used, and apparently like there's this one Russian bear they just used for like almost every movie, or that they were using for almost every movie at the time. And the bear
probably was a grizzly bear, probably.
Yeah. And the bear attacked the trainer, and a lot of the crew members like they just fled and they went out to like a trailer and like locked themselves inside of there. So the other people that couldn't get in there had to like go climb up the trees. There was either like other people or the trainer that had to climb up the tree after the bear attacked. But
that story sounds familiar. I remember that was like a huge like thing. Like it was like one of the first like major attacks on a trainer.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's great. It was funny because the bear attacked
grizzlies are.
Oh yeah. I went camping last year, and it was on the Blackfoot, and there was a bear outside of my tent for like an hour and a half, and I thought I was gonna fucking die.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Like the bear, my friend and I, we got drunk.
You were in a tent, like just a basic tent.
Yeah, it was along the Blackfoot River. There was actually a lady that was about 3 days before I went up there. She was dragged out of her tent because she brought snacks into her tent, and the bear dragged her out of the tent and mauled her to death. And some people that were nearby, they they sprayed the bear with bear spray and scared it off, but by that time the bear had already killed her, and they found it and shot it a couple of days later. But this was like, I knew about that story before I went up there. So my friend and I, we got drunk and we were by the campfire, and the campfire was close to my tent. And so we made some snacks on there, like when it's late night drinking and then you can make some snacks. And so the bear came sniffing around at like 2 a.m, and he was sniffing around the campfire, probably sniffing. I was like, I just got to lay here as quiet as possible, because I had like the bear spray, and I was like, if I spray, it'll probably spray back into my face. And I did have a gun there, but I was like, if I shoot the wrong way, I could hit my friend in the other tent over there and his family. So I was like, I'm just going to lie still and hope this bear doesn't murder me. And so the bear, the bear just for like an hour and a half paced around the campfire. I heard him snort, and he made this weird like guttural noise. I was like, this is a real life monster. And
did you ever see like the shadow of the bear or anything like that?
I didn't see the shadow.
I'm sure you heard it, but like, was there a visual?
Yeah, he was like 3 to 6 feet outside of the tent. And I was not even looking that way, but I heard the weight of him moving around outside of me, and his just like this real low, like bellowing grunts that he was making. And all it would take for a grizzly bear is like one swipe, and like
exactly, one swipe and you're done. Like whether you be a human or any sort of animal.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
speaking of bears. The Beastmaster has contact with the bear in the movie.
Well, yeah, it's like a kid. Like the bear comes out and he's attacking one of the people in his village, and then right. So the Beastmaster, he learns that he can communicate with animals and has a special power with animals because of that bear. And it was hilarious because the bear was like all super tame looking. On the commentary, they're like, this bear does not look intimidating at all, yet it attacked the trainer like right around that time. But in the scene, it was just like, I'm super mellow right now.
Wait, that bear in Beastmaster is the same bear like that attacked the trainer. Like that's...
as far as I know, like from the story, I don't think they had I think they only had one bear, because they were describing it like there was this one bear that did all like the stunt stuff. There's like one stunt bear. It was like a trained Russian stunt bear, and they used it for all the movies. But the bear was just all, maybe what happened is maybe they drugged it up after it attacked the trainer, and so maybe that's why it looked so sloppish. But they were talking about it, disappointed they were that it didn't look intimidating at all. They're like, we hope people don't notice this. I never noticed that when I was a kid, but when you look at it in the movie, the bear's got like kind of like this cute face. It's kind of funny. Like they steal like this close up of it. It doesn't look like he wants to attack anybody at all. But I'd never known he's any difference as a kid. Here's another funny thing about like special effects wise for it that I remember them talking about that liquid. So like his parents, the Beastmaster's parents, they pour this liquid over their necks. And then when they pour it over the necks, like the witches make the baby grow from the mom and they put it into the cow. And that scene always creeped me out as a kid, and creeped me out. They're putting the stuff around their necks. It's like, it's going to dissolve their head and make it fall off. And I was so creeped out when I was a kid, but like, they were like, everybody thought that was a cool effect, but we just basically took like those glow lights that you use at like rave parties, and we just broke it open, and we just used that for it. That's a pretty good low budget effect right there.
The witches were they're in Hercules. They're the three the three fates.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me.
That's what it's called. Like,
is that from Macbeth?
Remember the Disney movie Hercules, where it has like the three witches and they're passing the eye, and they make it comical, but like that's what they are. They're the three fates. They can determine, they tell you what can transpire if this happens and whatever. Not that's what those three witches were. That's why when they look up, like none of them have eyes. I think one of them has an eye or something like that, but they're the three fates from Roman mythology. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And that was and I got their names here too.
Yeah.
So they're Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos.
Yeah, right on.
Those are the three witches' names. Yeah. And they determine like the fates. Yeah, anyway, but
yeah, it's great. Like they also too had, it was funny when they were talking in the commentary, they're like, we wanted to freak people out by by having women with like, they sought out like models. They're like, we're gonna get like these curvaceous, like just
dude,
like
they were pretty sexy. If
yeah, but then like the face is all like messed up, and then
no, exactly, and that's what that was the witch thing. Yeah, like yeah.
Kind of reminds me of like sirens also as well too, like you know, like in Greek mythology, like you're talking about how like they come out of the ocean, they sing to the guys, and they're all perfect looking, but then they turn into like these hell spawns and attack them. But here it's just like the body's perfect, but then like the face is like melting and like dripping off. And it did look like that was the one part that like still was like, is this intentional with this makeup? Because it's like their faces are like melting off and shit, but then it looks like there's just like some low budget prosthetics just like hanging from the edges of their cheek or what.
I think that's just I think that's just a byproduct of the technology at the time, or the prosthetics at the time. But yeah, that was the first thing I noticed when I was watching it. Which is what connects him to. I mean, is he half man, half god? I mean, is he?
They never explained that at all.
That's why I was asking, because I was wondering, because it's so kind of like jumbled, like how he was born and everything, like and the only reason why I make that connection is because of those three witches, is because they deal with the gods and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It could be like it could be that maybe they had that in an earlier version or a backstory that they didn't put in. It's sort of at the end of the movie, you know, like when the whole village cheers him, it's sort of, I think like they're implying that it's like he's like the chosen one. It's like a prophecy kind of thing. But they don't flat out say it though.
No, exactly. Yeah. I actually appreciate that. Like I like when they don't be like, you're the chosen one. But then you have really cool movies like the Lego movie, where they poke fun at that, like oh you're the chosen one, now you have to do this, you have to do that, you know, they poke fun at that. But like I love when it's kind of integrated into a story to where you kind of have to figure that out. Like it's like, oh, okay, this person needs to, you know, find himself, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was, you know, kind of reminded me of Conan a little bit, and he brought that up because I was like, why is Conan able to like slay all these people with perfection? So you know that like Crom sort of smiles down upon him, even though Conan's like, damn you, Crom, you know, he's like, you're not letting me kill these people, then to hell with you. And like, even though it's like, Conan, you're not being very respectful of Crom here, but it seems like Conan is almost kind of like a demigod or something, but like they don't flat out say it either. You're like,
right, like
it's smile upon him.
It's insinuated, like it's like they don't have to say it, like you they show it through. It's like, okay, this person is exponential to a regular person in some way or another. You know, and I would go as far as to say, I mean, if you were to look at him through the lens of like comic books and superheroes, like you could argue like he's a mutant, he's a superhero in some way. Like he can communicate, not only communicate but control like the emotions of an animal, you know, like he can, you know, tell a bear to attack something or whatever it is, you know. So in a way you could argue it is a superpower.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, kind of thing, you know.
I think for sure.
I think one could win that argument. Yeah.
If you could command animals on the land, I think you'd be much more valuable or powerful than commanding animals in the sea like Aquaman does.
Yeah. Well, well, that's actually a very interesting parallel, because I mean, I think that's probably like Beastmaster and Aquaman are kind of
they're cousins,
argue have the same power. It's just one's land and one's water. Yeah, that's a very, I like that. I like how you said that. Aquaman,
because there's the evil god. So Rip Torn is like the cult leader. There's the evil god that he's sacrificing the kids to, but they don't mention any kind of like merciful god or like good god that people are worshiping.
And again, I kind of appreciate that. Like I like how they kind of like don't have to mention it. Like it's just the way the actors and the way the writing is and everything. It's just implied that it's like, okay, there's something greater going on, but we're not into that. We're into Dar right now, you know, kind of thing. But you understand there's a supernatural element to it.
Yeah, it leaves it open for the supernatural element because there's the witches, there's the like the scene through the eyeball, and there's magic and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So it does leave, even though he's like the only like really core. Well, I was going to say he's the only core supernatural character or the only core supernatural hero, but the villains all like use magic and shit. So that element of magic is definitely prevalent throughout.
And I love how like everyone knows how to use it, but he has it in him, but he doesn't use it like I guess like a wizard would. Like he uses it. He just naturally does it. Like he's communicated with animals since he was born, so to him that's just normal. So like his magic is just normal to him, whereas like the people that wield magic around him are kind of characters that have had to, I don't know, steal it, earn it, whatever it is, but like to him, like it's just who he is, you know. So that's another great contrast for sure.
This is, I thought, was a great like piece of trivia about it as well too. So it was shown so often on TBS, and its popularity gained a similar joke that TBS stood for Beastmaster Station. And like a programming director for TNT claimed it was the second only to Gone with the Wind as the most popular movie to air on the network, and attributed its success to its mythological appeal. It's more serious than the Conan movies. Well, a programming director at Cinemax stated that you can come into any part of it and not feel like you've missed much. That's true, actually. That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah. Wow, that's a very good description. I like that. Yeah.
And Dennis Miller made a joke that he said HBO stands for "Hey, Beastmaster's on," because they showed up so much on there too.
Hey, Beastmaster's on. I love that was funny.
Oh, here's some other like trivia about Beastmaster. Okay, this is kind of cool. This is from TVOvermind.com. There's a scene in the movie of a hawk soaring. The hawk chosen for the part would only soar while landing. To resolve this issue, the bird's cage was attached to helium balloons, and the cage door was triggered to open and release the bird when the cage was high enough. This allowed the crew to capture the hawk soaring. I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
This is cool. The John Horde temple was lit with torches, and those created black smoke. For this reason, the crew was forced to wear breathing masks, and the actors had to repeatedly have their nostrils cleaned by the makeup artist.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
And the mask worn by the Death Guard did not have any eye sockets, so the actor playing this part couldn't see what was happening. You might notice the Death Guard running around in the movie, waving his arms around as it stopped him from bumping into the props and scenery. I thought that was funny too.
It's awesome.
Oh, this is great. There were budget limitations, and this impacted on how much it was possible to spend on actors. The budget was set to $25 per day per person. For this reason, homeless people were hired for the scene where Singer meets his father. This scene was shot during the night at Simi Valley. Yeah.
Oh.
I wonder if they like bumped their budget up for. I remember when I first moved to California, I was like a non-union extra for a couple of things. It was like $50 a day, unless you were like exposed to the weather or something like that. But or like they do those things called like bumps if you have to wear certain outfits, or they're doing a scene where it's raining or anything like that. They pay you more, but yeah, $25 a day, man. Well, that would be tough to make it now.
Yeah. Oh, dude, absolutely. Especially if you're working hours.
Yeah.
$5. Do you know who that actor is that plays the villain? The
Rip
warlock?
Torn,
Yeah. I learned that doing my research, and it blew me away.
I just saw him in Men in Black the other day. I was like, I forgot he was in Men in Black. I remember,
dude. He's in a lot of shit. Things.
Yeah, he had like Rip Torn. He had a prosthetic put on his nose because he wanted to play his character like a bald eagle. That's how he said he wanted to play his character, like an evil bird.
How interesting is that? That's amazing.
I thought that was great. Okay, here's one right here. This is like the last kind of trivia I'll put out on this part, but for the casting of the role of Curie, Coscarelli wanted Demi Moore to play the role. However, the executive producer overrode the decision. Instead, Tony Roberts was cast in the role and also played Stacey Sutton in the 1985 Bond movie A View to a Kill. So that's crazy. We would have seen Demi Moore in that movie if things were slightly different. Or if
I think I remember seeing that in the trivia as well. Yeah, Demi Moore was originally wanted. Yeah,
she ended up being in another like super low budget like sci-fi horror movie I saw called Parasite. I think it was like an early 90s movie or something, but that was before before the days of G.I. Jane and striptease and all the classics.
Yeah. the movies that put her on the map.
Yeah, definitely. Like the super high budget ones. Yeah. So now,
the redhead in the movie is, pardon my French, hot.
Oh, extremely hot. Yeah, Tony Roberts. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is she was in Sheena, and I remember she was in like the female version of Tarzan, Sheena. And I remember when that movie came out and it was PG, there was nudity in it. And I think I went through puberty when I watched that movie or something. But this one, so the PG movies used to have nudity. And the funny thing is that Coscarelli was talking about how they intentionally, Dar slays a lot of people in this movie. And they're like, you may notice he slays a lot of people and there's no blood on the sword. That's because we were trying to cut back on the gore because we wanted this to be a family movie. They throw in then just like random nudity. But nowadays it's like everything's extremely violent and you barely see any nudity. It's weird. Yeah, it didn't bother me at all. I mean, that's why I like rushed out to go see Scene.
Well, I mean that it's very natural. I mean, that is how it would be in the woods, that's essentially. Right. If you you know what I mean, I'm no expert, but yeah, I've heard people who've gone to live with people in the bush people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they've mentioned that like love is a different concept, like nudity and like it's a different concept in the wilderness kind of thing. Yeah. So to me, as attractive as that was, it made sense to me on the level of like where the movie takes place, it's meant to be like in like medieval times, Robin Hood. So it made sense, you come across someone in the woods and you're naked, and like that made I mean, I don't know about you, but to me, it made sense. It's like, that looks like exactly what would happen if you were in the woods and came across another person. Yeah.
They said they only got like 1 or 2 shots from it because she was so pissed off because she was so freezing cold in it. Like if you go on those, I remember like as a kid going to like the lake and it was so damn cold. So they're like, you can't see it, but she's cursing as she's walking off screen. That's like we got
really?
like 1 or 2 takes, but yeah, she was not very happy.
You know what else I noticed? I mean, I don't mean this as a negative, but it's just something I noticed. There's a lot of ADR.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
I know there's a lot of ADR. That's something that I picked up on like right away. And again, it's not a negative, but it's noticeable.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was because it was tough to get sound. Well, you know what I think that may have been, because I think they were shooting around Simi Valley for a lot of it. So there's probably planes that screwed up the sound going overhead or whatnot. So that's probably what was happening. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Kind of like whenever you film a club scene or a dance scene in a movie, in reality, there's no music and everyone's just like supposed to kind of like dance like as if there is music. Like so that kind of relates to that in a way where they may have just cut out the sound completely and they had to go back and record all the voices over. I mean, it's probably it's probably the same actors. They just had to go back and record their voiceover because, like you said, like it could have been planes, it could have been It could have been just jungle noises, birds. You're sitting there, you're filming a scene, and all of a sudden you hear like a rah, rah! So you have to cut that out. So rather than go through it and cut it out meticulously, I think, I mean, this is just my opinion and my perception. I think that's why you hear so much ADR.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally noticed that too. Like, especially like the last couple times I was like, this movie has a shitload of ADR in it.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, it's like, it is one of those things that's kind of like, yeah, it could bother you if you're, I think if you're used to, well, if you don't watch a lot of older movies and stuff, it's probably something that would, but like, I wasn't
well,
used to
that's where it all started.
Movies,
that's where it all started.
ADR.
Yeah.
It would probably bother me, but like, it doesn't bother. I think it kind of has.
It didn't bother me at all. No, it didn't bother me. I was just saying, like, I noticed it. Like,
I agree.
I was like, oh, that's ADR. Oh, that's ADR. And then it got to the point where it's like, oh, damn, this is all ADR.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's happened so often that you just kind of like, well, I guess I better just get used to it because it's constant.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just have to accept it, and then
I was like,
yeah,
like, well, I guess I'll just look at it as a part of like a kung fu element to this movie.
Right? That's actually a good little example. Yeah, it is kind of like that. Yeah, like it's I can't say it better. You said it. Yeah, it's very much like a foreign film.
Yeah.
Where ADR is heavy.
Yeah.
I do have a few more
definitely
notes here. Like, sorry, I got sticky notes like all over the place here. So this was the entire story.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've heard of this, the hero's journey.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. You've heard of that, right?
Yeah, that's what Lucas based Star Wars off of. Yeah.
Exactly. I just recently had a big conversation with my brother about it because we just watched Prey.
Oh yeah, the Hulu movie.
Yeah. And I told him, I was like, that's the hero's journey. Like there's a beautiful graph I'll send you where how it's all, and I'm sure Frodo from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Is it the circular one?
It's the circular
it's cool.
hero's journey
cool.
And that's found in every single culture across time. So that's very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely. It does follow you're right. It does follow the hero's journey model.
It starts off, you're called to action. You resist it at first, and then you go, and then you leave your home, you leave what you know, and then you explore the unknown. You have a wise mentor. You gain allies. You gain new allies and new enemies along the way, and then you have the ordeal, and then you ultimately end up at the same point that you started, but you're a bettered person in some way. Like you come back, whatever the story is, you come back to your village, you come back to and you're wiser.
Yeah,
kind of thing. It's not about male, female, or anything like that. It's the hero's journey, like literally just leaving your home, going to college and going to school or whatever it is. That's kind of like everyone's beginning journey in that hero's journey, that cyclic kind of thing. You meet new people, you learn new things, you add that to your creativity, and then you're birthed back into the world that you began, and that's such a beautiful story, and it's found in all cultures. And I'm sorry I'm rambling here, but that is exactly what this story is as well. The Beastmaster, he doesn't know who he is. He has these abilities. He's called to go on a journey, whether it be through spiritual means or physical means or whatever. But and then he starts harnessing his abilities. He learns how to see through the hawk and see through the and speak to the animals, and so I love the concept of the hero's journey.
I do too. Yeah, it's great.
It's so beautiful.
This one definitely follows it. It's almost kind of like, like when you describe it, it's almost, and then you go back, it's cyclical. It's like the hero is being reborn. So they go back to like the same environment, but when they go through this process, they become
No,
reborn as a completely different
exactly.
person.
They that's the whole part of it. It's like whenever the hero returns to their home, they're bettered. They're much more well versed in whatever it is you're telling the story, whether it be sci-fi like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings where it's fantasy or whatever it is. Like that's the cycle of it. And there's little cycles like that throughout everyone's life. It's basically how growth works, like internal growth works. I mean, yeah, you can tell a fantastical story with that, but ultimately, every human being, whatever lens you want to look through it as, like it all has that. Like the formula is the same. You go out, you leave your comfort zone, you go into the unknown, you learn, you have a mentor, and then you come back to where you began and you're evolved.
That's true. It totally fits this movie. Actually, I didn't even think of the hero's journey with this movie, but it absolutely fits it. This movie absolutely fits the hero's journey mold. It's great. And it's a great mold for movies to follow too, because it works almost every single time when they follow it.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that was one of after I watched the first bit where we were talking about the witches and everything and how it relates to Greek gods and stuff. And and the second thing I really noticed was like, oh, this is the hero's journey. This is exactly what the hero's journey is. Like,
what do you think
he doesn't know who he is. Like he's a great, like kind of like the Matrix. The Matrix kind of
definitely.
The Matrix puts it to a T, and they literally say, the one and all that, and Neo. And,
the prophecy kind of.
A great movie. I love that movie, but that is a perfect example of the hero's journey.
What do you think besides the hero's journey is with this movie appeals to like such a wide variety of people? What do you think it is about this movie that appeals to such a general audience?
I think it's I mean, I don't want to like make it, I don't want to simplify it to a word, but I think it's just like the nature, like literally nature, like it's because I mean, as humans nowadays, we're all civilized, we have technology, we have phones and stuff, but like I think there's something innate in us that loves like nature, like Native Americans and hunting with bow and arrows and covering yourself in mud. I just watched
like Arnold at the end of Predator.
Right?
Come on.
But I'm saying, like, I think there's like an unspoken thing in our subconscious that just, there's something about living in the woods and thriving in the woods, thriving in nature, and doing and protecting your loved, it's that's kind of ingrained in us. It doesn't matter how high up you are in society. It's like there's something in our DNA that just loves to see raw nature, hunting, bow and arrow, no guns, no technology, just like connecting with nature kind of thing. And that's what I think this movie really holds, is especially the main character, and it's so great because he's almost ambiguous to it. Like he doesn't kind of fully understand his ability, but he knows he can do it, and he does it. He just naturally does it, kind of thing. And that's one of the big things I loved about the movie, was just like it's the hero's journey. He's just he doesn't know what he has to do. He's called to do something. He has this ability. And then he goes and does it, and then he perfects it and becomes stronger and stronger mentally and physically, exactly like you said, just like Luke from Star Wars. That's exactly that's probably one of the most perfect examples right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's really what I took away from the film, was just, it's like the Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's, everyone loves the underdog, the underdog that kind of rises to the occasion and has to do something, and at first doesn't want to do it, and doesn't think they can do it, and then ultimately they do it. And like, that's just an inspiring story to me. And yeah, I'm sorry to ramble again,
Oh,
but
no, yeah, you're right. No, I think it's like
that's what I took away from the movie. Yeah.
Nature, like bonding with nature. And like, you notice how like whenever you feel down or whatnot, and you go to, like, you take a hike or something and you're in nature, your spirits are instantly lifted. There's a
Yep.
big human connection with nature, with wanting to bond with nature.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I love about the Joe Rogan podcast, like you mentioned before, that because he's a hunter and he goes in the woods, and whenever he has people on, he has physicists on and doctors and stuff on, and then he brings that element to it, and then they discuss it. And I just love how everything's connected. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the best way to put it. Like, no matter how high or low your technology is, or how high or low you think your ego is, or whatever it is, like, everything kind of boils down to a specific point, that any person on earth can relate to, So, and I mean, I love sci-fi films, but like, I love like stories in general, like whether it be a campfire story or a book you read or something. But like, I love when it's like narrowed down to basic instincts, like humans, basic instinct, like, like, kind of thing, like
real primal kind of. Yeah, there's some primal
elements.
There are, like, what I know.
And again, I don't want to sound negative, but like, that's primal instincts. But again, I don't think that's a negative. Not at all. Like, like, we have that in us, and we merge that with our intelligence that we have today.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, well, I think there's more of kind of nostalgia for it. The more that we get into technology, and the more that we're separated from nature and the outside world, the more that we're in the inside world, or the Matrix, the more nostalgia we have for movies like this that take place in the outside world and bond with nature and everything, or from like a different time where everything's kind of like more simple and they don't have the advanced weapons and stuff like that. Except the crazy magic they got. We can't have technology duplicate that. But I did notice that there was a lot of different. I was like, maybe one of the big appeals to this movie is that there's so many different genres in it too, because there's a total horror element in it. There's a sword and sorcery.
Well, there's horror. There's softcore porn. There's
exactly, for a PG movie.
I know what you mean. So I think it has multiple genres for sure.
And it's hilarious too. They're like slaying all these people, and then they have the nudity and stuff. And they're, let's have a cute little scene with the animals here, and then like overall be family.
Well, I mean, arguably, I'm not in the mindset of the creators of the story, but arguably, I mean, that's how it was in those times. I mean, like, you didn't have a concept of anything else. Like, it's like, we'll meet these people in the woods, we'll have sex, okay, whatever, and then we'll go on and about our lives, and then we go into like a kingdom, and I become king, or like, it's kind of like this very obtuse, profuse kind of thing, like, and we understand that today. But I know this movie's a fantasy, but when I say back then or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it, like back in time, like in medieval times, where governments and stuff didn't really prevail, but that's something that was their everyday life, and that was normal. You know what I mean? Like, there's no right or wrong to it. kind of thing.
Yeah, like I could go out in the woods and meet somebody and have sex today, or get killed by like an ogre or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a random roll of the dice.
I mean, that's the what's the term? That's the what's the word I'm looking for? That's the harsh nature. Like nature is harsh. Like nature will kill you.
Yeah.
Nature will kill you, and nature will love you. Like it's like one of those things where it's
right.
like nature has no boundary. Like there's a term for it. Nature has no
it doesn't pick favorites. It can affect any
patience isn't the word, you know, like it has like it can take you, it can birth you, kind of thing, you know, like a mother, you know, it can, you know, you have no say in it, you know, it's just you could be seeing this like majestic scenery and then have a tiger just run up behind you and eat your head or something. Exactly. No, exactly.
Those two things at the same time.
And animals and predatorial animals like tigers and bears, apex predators will just eat you alive while you're laying there screaming. Like they don't care. Like that's, you know, and that's the harsh reality of nature. Nature's a bitch.
Yeah, that's true. And
again, we're a part of nature though also. That's why exactly. That's why humans are so terrible, because we come from nature.
Oh yeah, we're probably
we barely just came out of chimpanzee age. Like we still hate each other. Like
we're probably the worst of the species of all the species. Because we have the capability for greater evil, because we can plot.
The only thing that separates us is our intelligence. Like the fact that we're able to create something one year and the next year create it again better, next year create it again better, and that's one of the traits. I'm sorry if I'm rambling again, but that's something I was watching on Rogan's podcast was about animals. So like all animals, like bees are a good example. So many animals just remain what they are, kind of thing. But like we're the only animal that progresses like constantly. Like we invent a tool, then we learn how to use the tool, then we make the tool better, and then we keep going, and so on and so forth. So like we constantly progress. So we're the only, that's what separates us from the animals, is that we progress, like, and it's at a very, very fast rate right now, you know. Like chips are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, you know, phones are getting smaller and smaller, you know, everything's getting more, and so everything's speeding up, you know, and everyone's in a hurry, everyone's doing their job, everyone's doing this and this, oh, I gotta do this and this and this, and we're the only animal on the planet that does that.
We're going to destroy ourselves because robots will murder us in about 5 years here.
No, I think so too. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, I want to be optimistic. Like I know there's an avenue that we can go down that's not that. I think a machine is going to be a machine first before it turns into like.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it's exactly like how we operate as humans, you know, like when you're 1-2 years old, you just operate instinctively, you know, you look at something, you know, I have a 1-year-old niece that I babysit, and she's just constantly grabbing things and like,
they explore everything,
so and learning. So I think machines will kind of go through that as well before they take over, kind of thing, you know. But I don't know, it's a very blurred line, like with that, you know. I can see us destroying ourselves easily, but at the same time, you know, again, I think I'm just optimistic, but like I feel like there is an avenue that we still have that we can go down, where we can still have AI, where we can still create machines, and they protect us, or they, like, rather than seeing, like in the movies you see AI looking at humanity like as a virus. Oh, that you're the problem. And but I think if you program that into an AI that okay, yeah, we know that's the problem. That's why we're creating you. That's why we're making AI. That's, I mean, your purpose is to help us, you know, please, you know, if we have that mentality, and not, oh, I created you and I'm in charge of you and I own you kind of thing, you know, instead of that, we have the acceptance of it. You know, you just like having a child, you know, you create a life form, you want to connect with it, you want to, you know, show it right from wrong and good from evil and things like that. So I think that avenue is still possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I probably just watched too many horror movies. So.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm rambling again, but like, I mean, you're hitting on these topics that I've been thinking about for the past 2 weeks. But
yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I want to remain optimistic. I mean, what else can you do? If everyone's thinking negatively, then yeah, that will happen. But if, you know, you got some people that are, you know, hoping and have a good heart, and you know, I think it is possible. I think,
you know, and you never know. Even if the robots are going to destroy
I have
us,
trust in humanity. You know, forgive me.
well, maybe we'll have, maybe even if the robots are here to enslave us, they'll just put us in the Matrix and we'll have a lot of fun in there, and we won't even know the difference.
Have you seen the Animatrix?
Yes, it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
What we were just talking about relates, I think the last video or the last short film in that series is the one that was made by the creator of Neon Flux. Remember?
Oh, right on.
Where they capture the machine and they put them into the Matrix and they teach it like love and how to sacrifice yourself for another person. Like they teach it like these things through psychedelic imagery. At first, I didn't like that series, and now it's my favorite. And then it ends with, I'm sorry, spoilers here. You've seen it though, right? Spoilers here. But and the short film ends with the machine. All the humans have been killed by the machines, and the machine was like, he came out of the Matrix and he was, and I don't want to say cured, but like, you know, he had like a human mind. Protected the people, and he tried to protect. Everyone gets killed except him. And then the last shot of that small short film was that robot like sitting on a mountain, like just looking at all these dead bodies and looking at everything through a different mind. And then it just ends. So it's like, what is he thinking? You know, he's this machine that just got turned into a human, essentially. And I just love how thought-provoking that is, you know? Like, it's like, yeah, you create an AI intelligence, and yeah, it can conquer and destroy and be this horrible thing. But then if it learns like the concept of life, you know, like even as a human being, you and I, you know, you wouldn't walk up to a rose or a flower and crush it and destroy it and like, oh, no, you'd walk up and like, oh, I appreciate the color, I appreciate the smell, I appreciate, like, I want to protect this thing, kind of thing, you know, like it's beautiful, so I want to make sure it remains beautiful, kind of thing. And that's what they showed in that short film. I love that. That's my optimism in the view of AI and machine.
Oh yeah, good.
Like yeah.
I like that perspective. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I should probably adapt that more. So
okay, just a thought. So don't get me wrong, like I have dark thoughts, and I'm very well aware of all the dark stuff. Yeah, don't worry.
Speaking of like nihilism, Beastmaster is probably one of the most inappropriate PG movies ever made, even though it was close to being R at the time, even though there was just PG and R rating at that time, because it was marketed as a family movie. There's all this like crazy weird like horror shit going on in there, and well, because the animals and stuff, and it's easy to market that way. But there's all this crazy horror stuff going on. There's the witches. There's like those bat creatures that take people, like put their arms around people, and just like goo and bones come out of the bottom of them. There's just all this like crazy like nightmarish imagery. And then at the end of towards the end of the movie, straight up, the cult leader is just throwing small children into the altar, sacrificing them into a fire. And like before he even like goes and saves the kid, he's like, I'm gonna throw this kid into the fire to sacrifice it for the evil god.
Yeah.
Like, throws it, all the villagers are watching, and the parents are like, please don't take my kid. And then Beastmaster gets there and he has his animal save one of like the eagle save one of the other kids. I'm like, well, you just a little too late. You just showed us murder.
Yeah.
Showing like
that was a little rocky writing. Yeah.
They're showing shit they would never. Oh, and then like the palace guards, they basically take these like little leeches, like in Star Trek 2, those little leeches in people's ears, goes into their brain, like rots their brain, and then they just put this like helmet of them and just like put these screws into their heads and totally make them into zombies. I'm like, there is so much crazy shit going on in this movie for a PG movie, which is both like kind of horrifying and awesome at the same time.
Yeah, but I think that's the best way to describe it. Yeah, it's horrifying and awesome.
But then there's these great things like the bond that he has with the animals, like the ferrets and everything are so cute. The little ferrets that he hangs out with. And actually the producer in the movie said that he liked the ferrets so much that he had one of them as a pet for like a long time. He said they're great pets.
Wait, who kept it as a pet?
The guy, like the co-writer, his name is Paul Pepperman. In the commentary, he was saying that he liked the ferrets so much that he had one of them as a pet for a number of years.
Okay.
He said they make great pets, but they have very sharp teeth. So if they bite, if they're playing with you,
well,
they're bite you.
Well, ferrets are. I follow someone in YouTube called the Mink Man. He trains mink, and a mink is exactly like a ferret, but it's the animalistic version, kind of like dogs to wolves. You know what I mean? Like ferrets are like dogs, and then minks are like the wolves, like they're like the wild ones. And and I don't know if you knew this, they're semi-aquatic.
Oh, I did not know that.
Like otters. Cool. Like, did you know that? Like
they do kind of look like
otters,
otters,
they can swim and dive. They can swim and dive, and they catch their food under the water and like fish and they're a semi-aquatic animal. So
I didn't know that.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
They're awesome. And apparently, like Mark Singer, who plays Dar in the movie, he got along with the ferrets really well. He said they were super easy to get along with and they were super friendly. And he said that like the tiger, he goes, and I was like, when I was watching the movie, especially when they were talking about how they had to have the tiger away from the kids and stuff, because they're saying they can't train a panther, or panthers are very hard to train. That's why they had to have a tiger. But there's shots in that movie.
Well, Panther's just a black jaguar.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Sorry, go on.
But there's like, after hearing that, and when I was watching the movie, he's walking next to the tiger, and sometimes I'll kind of like slap the tiger, like, good job, boy. And I'm like, well, if that tiger doesn't like you, and that like they don't have enough people close by to stop him if the tiger were to attack him.
Yeah.
But it's like that you must have to have, like, he had to have had some kind of a symbiotic relationship with the animals for them to bond with them and not attack him.
I was just going to bring that up because, again, I watched a Joe Rogan podcast where he had Mike Tyson on, and he has pet tigers, or he's had pet tigers. And he was explaining the difference between like tigers and panthers and lions and stuff. Like a lion has a family, like they like to be around a bunch of people, like, but a tiger attaches to you. If a tiger loves you and is your companion, and they see you interacting with another person or another animal and they get really jealous.
Oh damn.
Because of how because of how their mind chemistry is, kind of thing. So that's an interesting fact with big cats.
That's cool. That's totally interesting. That they would get super jealous. That makes sense. If they bond with you that well, that they would. It was almost be like a protective kind of thing, like, this is my male companion.
But a lion has the complete opposite mentality. Like, I mean, not that you have lions as pets, but I'm just saying, like, just the way they operate. Like a lion has like, because they have prides and stuff. And they're used to having families, so that's how their mind works. So you can hang out with a lion with a bunch of people and hang out and cuddle and like a kitten kind of thing, but a tiger attaches and will get jealous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just found that interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, that is.
One thing I liked about the movie was the primitive dialogue.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like they weren't using words like and the
Right.
and stuff. Like it was very like, how you would envision a primitive language to be,
Yeah.
like move this here, like, oh, I
Yeah.
want this, like, oh, color, which
Yeah.
is kind of like how Tarzan
Yeah,
talks, I
yeah.
guess you would say.
True.
Yeah, so that's another thing I kind of noticed. Like, I like how that decision was made. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, let's not have them speak full, or at least the main character, like, not speak full sentences, perfect grammar, like it's very, I'll say, tribal. It's very tribal, this, like, you only say what needs to be said, that's something I noticed and I liked.
Yeah, for sure.
The dialogue. Yeah,
that's very kind of Conan adjacent. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know the eagle's name, or the hawk?
Whatever. I do not. No.
You don't know his name? You sure?
Yeah.
Sherlock.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have known.
So
that,
like Sherlock without the L.
Oh, right on. That's
Sherlock.
Cool.
Yeah. That's the name of the bird that he
right on
can see through.
Yeah, he did name them all. Yeah, because the ferrets he named like Kodo and
yeah,
Podo.
they all have names, and the bird is Sherlock. Yeah,
right on.
Okay, cool. I think that might be my last note. Yeah. We talked about all that stuff.
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything. Oh, I did want to know. So before we go to the closing thoughts here, I was going to say is they actually, Don Coscarelli was talking about how they lost the negative, like somebody took the negative or it disappeared. They really? Actually got the rights back. So they had lost the rights to Beastmaster for a long time. That's why they weren't involved in the sequels or the TV series or anything. They actually sold the rights to it flat out. He got the rights back now. He's trying to find the original negative for Beastmaster to restore it. So we may actually get, in the future, we may see some Beastmaster sequel. He may do a Beastmaster reboot coming from Coscarelli, the original director, which would be awesome. Like that would be the only way I'd actually want to see any kind of remake of this one if the original director is doing it. But maybe they could do stuff now that he couldn't back then. Although I have a fondness. We've talked about this before for all the practical effects and everything. So how do you think how do you like watching this movie again? How do you view it now as when you saw it like as a kid? How is it like, how did it affect you as a kid and how does it affect you now?
Almost completely differently.
Yeah.
Because when you watch something like that as a kid, you're kind of just focused on the fantastical stuff, oh, he can talk to animals, and like you're kind of like more focused on that. And then you grow up and you watch it again and you understand like all the symbology or the symbolism, like you understand, like it's like, oh, that's what they're saying in this scene, whether even if there's nudity or gore or whatever it is, like you can watch a scene and be like, oh, I think, okay, that's what the writer and director was trying to say with this scene, kind of thing, like it's not just visual, it's mental and verbal. Like you notice that much more, kind of thing. And that's true for, I think, for any movie you would watch as a young person and grow up and watch again, like you see it through a different lens, you see it through, I don't want to say kid and adult, because you can be an adult and 10 years go by and you're still an adult, but you'll watch, and it's still, and then something you watch or hear is different in some way. So I think a good word for it would be timeless.
Absolutely.
Like sure. You're a kid, you can show it to your kids. Watch it, have fun, you can see them laugh, and I like the bird, I like the ferrets, and I like the and then a couple years go by and you see it through a different lens, like, okay, there's the sexual element, okay, there's the okay, I see. And then and then you get older and older and you go back and watch something and you kind of and then you understand like the whole thing, like, I understand this entire message of the story of the movie, you know, like going back and watching Star Wars. You go back and watch the original Star Wars movie, you can see all the things that you love as a kid that attracted you, you know, the robots and the lasers. Oh, cool. And then you go back and watch it when you're much older, like even 30 years later, you go back and watch it, and then you start seeing all of the symbolism. You start seeing all of the, it's like, oh, that's what that was about. Like, it wasn't about the lightsaber. It was about what he was saying, you know, kind of thing, you know. And yeah. So anyway, that's what I think this movie is very, very timeless.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. 100% timeless. When I was a kid growing up and watching this movie, I was like, you know what? When I'm an adult, I'm going to have a bunch of animal friends run around and have adventures, and everything's going to be really fun. That shit did not work out that way when I grew up. But watching this movie again as an adult, when I was a kid, the horror stuff like really stuck out in my mind. It's like, man, these bird creatures freaked me out, and that stuff they poured on their heads freaked me out, and the witches and the eyeballs freaked me out, and the cult leader, all that stuff like freaked me out. Now I'm watching it again. It doesn't freak me out as much, but I was like, this still has an impact. And first thing I thought is, I was like, this movie is freaking badass for PG, like for a PG, even like a lot of R movies nowadays. It's a pretty badass movie, and it's awesome. Like, there's constantly awesome shit happening in this movie. Like whether he's getting into adventures or meeting animals or crazy weird like magical stuff or like sorcery stuff,
especially with practical effects. Like, I think The Thing is a great example. Like, it's like, it's terrifying, you're horrified because in your mind it's real, and you're when you're young, but then you grow up and watch it and it's still great, but then your mind's thinking, wow, who did these prosthetics? Like, it's like, wow, who did, you know, like I remember I think one of my first big realizations was when I learned Jim Henson, who did all the Sesame Street and the Muppets and all that. Like, one of my first big realizations was when I learned that his studio made the Ninja Turtle outfits, the original Ninja Turtle movie, the bodysuit with the animatronics, like
they're awesome.
And whenever I learned that was Jim Henson, I was like, okay, there's a bigger world out there than what I think is out there, kind of thing. And that was my, like, I think I was like 12 or something like that. But I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, there's a huge creative and then you get older and you learn how it takes years just to make a movie, you know, like, especially an animated movie takes even more. I've talked about this with many people. Like, a movie is like every artist coming together to make something. Like, you have the musician that composes the artwork, all the people that do that. You have the lighting, the sound, you know, the director, the actors, you know, the color, the light, like everything has to look right, you know, and then everything comes together to make this like 1.5 hour, 2 hour movie. And it goes through all these trial and errors kind of thing. So I always think, I think like a movie is like an ultimate art form. Like, it dates back to just sitting around a campfire and someone telling a story, you know, without technology or anything like that. Someone singing a song around a campfire and, you know, telling a spooky story or an action story or whatever it is, you know. So you have all these thousands of people that make a movie. That 1.5 hour film inspires others. Inspires others to do that as well, to go out and create, kind of thing, you know. So that's just a beautiful thing to me, you know. Like, I love movies. I love movies.
Sparks the imagination for like somebody else to like write
for anybody,
or draw or anything else.
Whether it be just a random scene, someone walks in a room and sees a scene from Titanic or whatever it is, or hears a song from a movie and it's projected well visually in the movie, and that inspires you, like a romantic comedy kind of has those beautiful 80s songs and 90s songs that that are very uplifting, and you're like, oh wow, like I want, like it makes you want to fall in love, kind of thing, or whatever it is, like it's just the fact that thousands of people come together to make an hour and a half, 2 hour movie that has music, visuals, acting, has all these art forms in it, and someone can see that, and that just like spawns their creativity,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's exactly how influence works. I mean, basically, whether it be a song or whether it be just being a blogger. I mean, I know it's kind of become a little petty now, you can become a blogger and be an influencer and stuff, but like that can influence someone to do something great,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's the beauty. That's why it's consistent. That's why it keeps going on. Like that's like the ultimate goal is to inspire another heart, like that's how I see it. But
no, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And since movies are immortal, they'll inspire people till the end of time. And our consensus on Beastmaster, I believe, is that it is a timeless classic, and it's freaking awesome. And I could kind of watch this. And the thing is too, maybe why it's so popular is because there are so many different genre blends in it. You don't really have to be in a certain kind of mood to watch Beastmaster. It's sort of, you could kind of watch it anytime. Anytime anybody would pop it on, I would watch it for at least like half an hour or something. I mean, it's a sweet movie, and I think it's held the test time very well. And like you said, timeless classic. So that is it for this episode of the Dead Harvey podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And Jefferson, go ahead and promote your artwork.
I have a few good things under Apgar Arts. You can check me out at TeePublic, T Fury, also Ripped Apparel. You're good to go. Yeah, anything you like. Yeah, I don't really have anything recent in the past 2 weeks, but there's plenty to go around. I have over 200 designs, and I think you'll definitely enjoy what you see.
I would say that's a pretty good sized catalog for people to choose from. So, Jefferson's got
it's all pop culture, Star Wars, Marvel, like DC. It's all pop culture. So,
and they're really creative and fun designs. So yeah, definitely check it out. And thank you so much, Jefferson, for being our guest here today. It was really fun talking to you about Beastmaster, the classic movie Beastmaster, and revisiting that again. And thanks so much for listening. And we'll see you next time on the Dead Harvey podcast. And until next time, stick to the roads. Stay away from the moors.